All right, welcome to Module 5, where we're going to talk about the names of the notes in all the frets up to the 5th fret of all strings. Sounds like a lot to take in. It is dang handy stuff to know. It isn't theory, it is just getting to know your guitar. What we're also going to cover is how to read a chord chart and my little couple of little notes on chords, and then I'm going to get you into a practice plan so you can get into the meat and bones of this actual course, and we're going to start cracking into playing chords and transitioning those chords and the best way to do it. Now, as I said, this isn't theory, this is dang handy stuff to know. So, fast guitar method means we're not going to muck about and we're not going to talk and talk and talk. Let's teach. Here we are. From the low E string, we have covered sharps and flats. We have covered the names of the strings. Every Easter bunnies get drunk at Easter. Not every good boy deserves fruit, because that's how you read music. And I'm not going to do that. Easter bunnies get drunk at Easter, starting at the low E star, the very end Easter. Right, E. I'm using a pick, holding it gently. Let's lay a little bit forward, get comfortable, neck up, thumb at the back. Here we go. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Again. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Rad. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be A, because we've tuned our guitar. A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D. Now you might ask, why isn't it A sharp? Well, you will normally see it written as B flat. A sharp just sort of, I'm not sure why, people tend to avoid that. So if you see A sharp written anywhere, it just means B flat. So A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D. Cool? Moving on. D, D sharp. Weird, why isn't it E flat? Well, it depends. If you went down, it probably would be E flat. But in this case, we're going up. So it's going to be D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. Rad, we're halfway through. It's not hard, right? You can see a pattern forming here? I hope so. Right, going on to the G string. G, G sharp, A, B flat. There's that B flat thing again. B, C. G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C. Now I also notice the way that my fingers are moving up. I'm using each finger in accordance with which fret it is. That's just one of the things. I was taught how to play classical, and that's one of the ways that they teach you to do it. Handy little hint, good way and a good habit to get into as you're going up. I'm cheating a little by moving the little pinky finger up there onto the 5th fret. I digress. Here we go. B, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Now you guessed it, we've gone from the low E, now we're at the high E, so it's exactly the same in the bottom. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Cool? How easy is that? I know it sounds very easy, and it's easy for me to say that to you, but what you do at the start of every practice session that you're about to do, you sit down and you cover at least 2 strings before you crack on with anything else. Get out your book, get your ready reference that you can always go back to, and look at it whilst you're actually playing along with it. Name the notes as you're moving up. Go up and then back down again for one string, then the second string, go up and then back down again. So if you were doing, say, the bottom 2, the low E and the low and the A, so E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, G sharp, G, F sharp, F, E. Don't go that fast. I'm just speeding things up just to show you exactly what I would do. A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, D, C sharp, C, B, B flat, A. Take your time, nice and easy with this. Go over them about 4 times each, and then get into whatever practice you want to do. And within a matter of days, not that long, a couple of weeks at the most, you will know all the names of those frets and the notes that are in them, and then back down again. And also at the end of the book, there is all the rest of them up to at least the 12th fret. You will see patterns happening. You will see patterns a lot. It's a wonderful thing about music. It's kind of mathematical in a way. It's brilliant. Right. Get to know all these very well. I believe in you. I know you can do it. Now what we're going to do is going to start talking about chords and how to read them. So I'm going to put the guitar away and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I've put my guitar away. It's in its case. It's having a great old time having a sleep. I'm going to talk about chords and how to read a chord pattern. And if you have taken my free lesson prior to buying this course, then you know a little bit about them. You know that they look like this. You know that that note or the letter at the top is what the name of the chord is. What I didn't talk about was how a chord is made up. Now this is a little bit of theory and I'm not going to go into it, but this is good to know. A chord at its most basic level is 3 notes called a triad. The first note, which is the root note of the actual chord, which is generally what it's called. So if it's the root note is a C, it's a C chord. And then everything else afterwards denotes whether it's a major chord, a minor chord, a seventh, ninth, suspended, augmented, vast range of thousands of different types of variations that go on that. But at its very core, 3 notes, the 1, the 3, the 5. So if it's a C, then it's, in musical terms, they talk about the root note as being the first note, and that's not counted as 0, that's counted as number 1. So that would be C, and because C in major, there's no sharps or flats. That's another bit of a theory, but we're not going to go into that either. I'm just making this as simple as possible. So we got 1, 2, 3, oh, let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we got C's, this is the first, and then the third. C, D, E, so that's that one, F, G. So what we've got here is C, E, and G. Cool? We disregard these two. 1, 3, 5. Simple as I can make it, and that's the basic crux of what a very, very simple chord is. Just a triad. Now I get into a way that they look like. We've seen what they look like. We know that at the top is what the chord is named. Now anything after, if it's a little M, it will be a minor. If it's a sharp, it will be a sharp, the hashtag, or if there's a little B, it'll be a flat or a seventh or ninth. And as I've said, a gazillion different ways that chords can be played, depending on whatever the composer or the songwriter wants them to be for. Now, you'll notice that the first line at the top, if you've taken my free class, you'll know this, that's where the nut should sit. So that's the first one. All the horizontal lines below, they denote what fret they are, what fret you're meant to put your fingers in. And usually they'll go up to around about the 5th fret. But if you've got at the top, you've got a little C, but it says 5 next to it, or something else, that means that's where you start that chord from. Or that's where you put a capo, and then you can play the chord that way. And just have a look at the way that the sheet music's written, and that'll tell you exactly what it's all about. Cool? Right. The vertical lines, they denote what the strings are. Starting from left to right, as you see it, is the low E to the high E. Cool? The dots are where you put your fingers, and the fingers, if you're lucky, they will have numbers, and that's where you should put each one of those fingers in each of those frets, on each of those strings. Pretty self-explanatory, I'd hope. If it's not, really take a good look, and if it doesn't make sense to you, say it's kind of like you know what an E or an E minor chord looks like, but it's very different. Have a look and see if there's anything annotated next to it that says that it's not exactly E minor. It might be an E minor augmented 7th / something, blah, 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 blah. If it doesn't look exactly what you expect it to look like to start off with, just take your time, quick once over. Oh, okay, I see what they're trying to do there. It's in a completely different part of the fretboard. Cool? Right, that's all I want to talk about with chords. We're going to cover a whole bunch. We're actually going to cover 15 chords in the next module. And that module is the meat and bones. And this is where you'll get the best results. Now, the best results, as I've spoken about before, it is all about practice. Practice, practice, practice. I can show you the tips. I can help you down the path, but I cannot force your fingers to touch the fretboard. I cannot force you to sit there with a guitar on your lap and actually get into it. All right, so we're all ready to go for our big meat and veg of the course. This is where we start to really get in and get the proper rhythm. You know, you get to play chords, you get to play the guitar. Now, a couple of notes now on practicing, and I'm going to get into a little bit of strumming at the very end of this part before we crack on. Now, practicing is is vital. I can't stress this enough. Before you start this next phase of everything, yes, you've learned what it is, how to tune it, restring it, all that good stuff, but practice. Knowing all those little tiny things that you can always go back and reference is cool to know, like off the top of your head, but you don't have to do them all the time. Now, learning chords and playing the fretboard, this is where you really, really need to practice. Practice, practice, practice. If you don't practice, you're not going to see any gains out of this. It's not going to be worth your while. So I really, really, really want to get in your head that you have to put some effort in to make this actually work for you. Because quite frankly, if you don't do it, it's going to be such slow progress, you just get frustrated and put the thing away and chuck it in a corner somewhere and it'll gather dust. So if you keep practicing, you will notice every single day you're going to get a little bit better and better and better. So you have a practice plan, the PDF, which you can download, and for each of the days I've got a recommended. Now you can do a lot more, but I recommend that you only do at least that minimum to see at least some good progress. You see great progress if you keep at it, but at the very least start off with what I've got on the practice plan. Cool? So the practice plan for most of the days goes a little bit like this. So you tune your guitar. How you've got your tuner. If you want to start now, would be also a good time to get your harmonics and your ear tuning down pat. That'd be great. Give yourself some wrist exercises. Make yourself nice and limber, ready to go. And to start off with, go through your first position frets up to the 5th. On the first day and the second day, I want you to do at least the bottom 3 or the top 3. And then every other day afterwards, go up and go down. So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, G sharp, G, F sharp, F, E. Do that for each string. Cool? So what you're really wondering about, what you're focusing on there is where your thumbs are, making sure that you're using the tips of your fingers. You're trying to make it nice and simple for yourself so you get in the habit of using your tips of your fingers. This will also build up your calluses and it will be a lot less stressful on your fingers than playing constant chords all the time. Now onto your chords. When you learn the chords, what we do is when you strum, there's 2 ways of strumming. It's called upstrokes and downstrokes. So downstrokes only, and I want you to do 4 downstrokes of each chord. So focus on 1 finger at a time to get them in the right position. Make sure that all of your fingers are in the right spots. And then 4, and then moving on to the next one. And what you're trying to do here is get your transitions as smooth and as quick as possible. So do those chords in each, like in order of what I'm taught them. So if it's E minor to E7, it'll be E minor, E major, and then E7. And then go from E7, E major to E minor. Move up and down and do that 4 times. Now, what you'll notice is that you may actually, after a while, your fingers are going to get pretty tired. It's only because you're new to it. That's okay. Your fingers may get a little sore. That's also okay. Take a break. But what we're focusing on is making sure that fingertips are in the right spot, our fingers are actually in the right spots, and that we're getting used to how our hands feel. So if you're having troubles, you feel like you've got to put your arm out like this, bring your elbow in a little bit, just make sure you're using your thumb. So you're pushing these 2 together on the fretboard. You're not trying to like squeeze the entire thing. But you don't have to grip it that hard that you're really hurting. If you're starting to feel it down here or in here, which is where it should be a little bit more normal down there, but if you're really feeling it in here, you're pushing too hard against the fretboard. So 1 finger at a time on each of the frets where they're meant to be, and then downstrokes through. Cool? Now, at the end of that, pluck each string individually. So if you've got 1 chord, so you've done all the chords up and down 4 times each. So E minor for day 1 to E, to E7, and then E7 to E minor, and then hold there. Have a little break if you need, then come back and then go back to your E minor or whatever chord that you want to focus on and put your fingers in the right spots and pluck each one individually. I'm going to say this fairly often. I really want you to really absorb it and understand it, that if you do these practices right, you will make good gains. So what you're looking for with each of the individual strings is any buzzing, any muting, any missed strings, So you're focusing on where it is that you need to improve. Now, the more you focus on what you need to improve, the better you'll be. Rather than just rush through and go, yeah, I know these things. Truly, trust me. You're targeting and you're focusing on the things that you need to improve to make you progress quicker and will help with your technique forever. Now, that's about as much as I'm going to go for that part. In the practice plan, it runs through checklist to tick each one and gives you a recommended time for each practice. I recommend a minimum of half an hour to 45 minutes practice per day. Go for a whole lot more if you want. Minimum only. Cool? If you have a guitar lesson at school or wherever else, they usually only go for about a half an hour, and you're expected to go home and practice each week. So I'm expecting you to also practice, so please do that. Otherwise, you just won't get any progress. So, strumming. At the end of each practice lesson, I ask you to do a bit of strumming. It's a bit of playing around, just to really get used to, how it all works. My big tip on strumming is don't overthink it. So many people will write, you've got to go down, 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 up, down, and a whole raft of other different ways of doing it. And what you're focusing on is what you're doing here, when really you should be focusing on what's going on down here. Now, this is really the business end. To begin with, it's going to feel clunky. You're going to be a little bit robotic. That's cool. That's fine. It's why you're here. So my ideas for strumming, don't think about it. Try not to use your elbow. That's why I slapped it. So a lot of people, when they do the down strums, will do this. You don't need to move your arm that much. Now, another way that I can help you out here, so what I call the wrist wriggle. It's pretty well, it's wriggling in a specified time. So it's a rhythm. Now, if you can get your arm up and just wiggle it around like that, like you're, shaking water off, your hands or whatever. If you can do that, now you do it as fast as you want. Now try and slow it down so you got it in a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 rhythm. Cool? That's all you got to do. You're basically strumming a guitar now. Now, if you put your pick between your fingers and do that, and you hold it the way you're meant to, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you're strumming a guitar essentially. The trick with it is finding out the distance between your fingers and the pick, so you're hitting it not too hard unless you really want to hit it hard, and not too soft unless you want to hit it soft. Now that's where the more technical parts come. Don't worry about hitting it harder or softer for the moment. Just get used to the rhythm of your hand. So you'll notice that, yes, my elbow moves a little bit. So one good way to try and get around learning a rhythm is pick a famous pop song. Let's say Wrecking Ball, the Miley Cyrus song when she's swinging on that thing. I came in like a wrecking ball. That's how good I am as a singer. I'm so good. So all you're doing is holding one chord and then trying to get that rhythm as they're singing. Or, if you prefer, say a phrase, whatever phrase it may be. My guitar is in its case. Or even more simple is the dog ran away, right? The dog ran away. The dog ran away. The dog ran away. And all you're trying to do there is emulate what it is that you're saying. So you say it out loud, think it in your head, whatever it is that works for you in your practice space. So you don't sound like you're crazy or something. Just, slowly get yourself into that. Play around with it a little bit. Have fun with it. If you've learned the chords, go up and down, whatever it is that you want to do. The strumming part of the practice plan is just for your fun. Take what I say as far as don't overthink it. You focus more on this, and in no time at all, this will start to come together. It may take a couple of weeks for it to really, truly be comfortable. Initially, yes, it will feel a little awkward, but don't overthink it. Don't use too much of your elbow, more in the wrist, like a wriggle in time, wriggle in rhythm, rhythm in whatever. Cool? So practicing should be fun. Like you're trying to just improve on the little things that you want to improve on. Now, the practice plan is a guide. If there's something that you know that you want to practice on, say a chord progression, whatever it is, and you know the chords, then go and do that. That's perfect. Every little bit counts. Every second counts. Every minute holding this thing all adds up. You've heard about the 10,000 hour rule? It's totally true. The longer you do something, the better you become at mastering that thing. So, practice away. And have a great old time doing it.